Hello everyone, I'm Charlie Tolhurst and welcome to the Charlie Tolhurst show for today, the 3rd of September. I am back this week for an action-packed show full of lots of great things, chat, cost of living crisis. We're in for a bang tonight, plenty of it. I'm joined by late party supporter Zach Chambers to round up all latest news. Hello, Zach.
Hi, Charlie. Hello, mate.
Right, before we
Is that my audio gone?
I do apologise there. I was cut off slightly on the stream. I'm back now.
Interrupt your flow there, Charlie.
That's fine. Well, I'm back now. Sorry for the little technical glitch there. But I'm back on there. Now we're going to talk all about the events of the past week. Now, last weekend we saw the Notting Hill Carnival on for the first time since the pandemic hit. And the event was full of interesting street performers, and also the scene of lawless London becoming more lawless than ever before. Sadiq Khan's lawless London is getting there. Last week's Notting Hill Carnival was a disaster for crimes being committed. We'll now go over exactly what happened last week at Notting Hill Carnival using statistics that I have found online. So, reported from My London News. Last weekend, Met Police said as of 12:01 a.m. on Tuesday, the 30th of August, a total of 209 arrests were made at the start of the carnival. That included 36 people on the possession of drugs, 5 criminal damage, 27 public order, 46 on assault, 8 on sexual assault, 10 on the possession of psychoactive substances, 33 possession of an offensive weapon, 7 on drug driving, 35 on other, 1 theft and 1 robbery. It's just a horrible number of people. At least about 6 or 7 people were stabbed, including a 21-year-old rapper as well. I cannot believe the scene of that. A 21-year-old rapper. We do actually have a name for this person who was stabbed at the event. That, my friends, the rapper's name in question is here, pictured above. It was in Ladbroke Grove where the rapper was stabbed the other day. His name was, if we can get the thing up for you now, guys, the name of this rapper was a 21-year-old male as well who got stabbed. We're just getting the name up of the rapper. We'll find it in a minute. Teoko Nembard from Bristol was the rapper. Zach, what did you make to the scenes last week and over bank holiday on the Notting Hill Carnival regarding the statistics that I have just displayed?
Yeah, they're pretty harrowing figures that you just read out there, and they're actually, just a continuation of a dreadful set of events that are continuing to happening. I mean, Notting Hill Carnival is this massive festival. It's a very happy place to be. You know, you dance, you listen to the music. You know, it engages the black community in many ways that you don't see normally. It brings a diverse lot of people around to Notting Hill Carnival, and it's just a shame that the attention is on those minorities of people. Not the color, but the number that are doing bad acts, bad events, and are just ruining the festival for everybody. I mean, going around sapping a rapper, wow! I mean, it's just stupid, especially at Notting Hill Carnival of all events, which is a brilliant, diverse, and wonderful event. They're supposed to be full of fun, and people are spoiling it, absolutely spoiling it with stabbings, arrest, drugs, all that sort of crap. And it's just a shame, Charlie, that a minority of those have to be so stupid and commit crimes. It's just unacceptable, and it's ruining the event. Like I said, it's supposed to be a happy festival with music, dance, enjoyment, and all that sort of thing. And you get these idiots who go around bringing knives, get into fights, tussles, and it becomes a nationwide story, which is what's supposed to be a good event. It's just a shame. Honestly, it's a huge shame that people are spoiling these events. There's no chance of the festival getting axed, the carnival getting axed, because that's just be inappropriate. We cannot allow those who commit acts to be ruining events. And I'm afraid, what we've seen this week, last week, sorry, I should say, it makes it a discomfortable experience for people who want to attend and enjoy and have fun, and just bring the act. But it's just a shame, especially when it's its first event in 3 years as well. So they, idiots like that, no place, ruining great carnivals like the Notting Hill Carnival.
I have to say, Zach, I don't understand what some of these people are doing. It's getting bad. I mean, this has been one of the biggest topics over the last few weeks on the news. Law and order is what the next Prime Minister, Liz Truss or Rishi Sunak, whoever that will be, on Monday will be announced as the new Prime Minister of Britain and the new leader of the Conservative Party. We will talk more about that in a minute regarding the fate for them, but they need to tackle this issue immediately because this issue is becoming a big problem right now. And I am beginning to wonder, is this becoming a serious topic of conversation? Is it time to look at this? Is it time to understand that the true number of crimes will rise? Because Sadiq Khan, in my view, is totally it's just totally unfit to be mayor of London, given the awful scenes of crime over the last few weeks. Blaming it on the heat wave, he tweeted saying, calling the Notting Hill Carnival event immaculate. Well, immaculate to some, but not immaculate when you see crime numbers of that high. Also, seeing police officers being sexually harassed is totally wrong, totally just stupid. I cannot believe why people would want to harass some of the most key workers in the country. These people go out there, risk their own lives, doing their job, chasing down suspects on the road. And the speed limit thing we'll talk about later on. Zach, it's just clear that the police need to be doing their job properly in order to make these events more safer, I think.
Yeah, on that police officer that was, I saw the video of that. That was deeply wrong. I have to say, I felt pretty uncomfortable watching that. It was a bit cringe as well. It was very uncomfortable for the police officer. I'm surprised, personally, that she didn't try and go and arrest this person. I think, if you think about it, though, if she did arrest her, she'd be accused of racism and all that sort of thing. And if she didn't arrest him, then she would be accused of letting him get away with it. So, it's, I feel sorry for the officer who's been put in a difficult situation, quite frankly. I personally think she should have just gone and arrested him because it was an inappropriate act, But on Sadiq Khan, I can understand previous complaints, blaming heat waves and things. I mean, yeah, heat does get to you, but I don't think it gets that far. Notting Hill, for the majority of people, I'll give you a little bit of the benefit of doubt here because Notting Hill Carnival was great for the majority of people. Let's just remember that. We are focused on the minority of people, Charlie. But which is understandable because given the events of what these people have been doing, they're despicable acts. But I'll give Sadiq Khan the benefit of the doubt here because it was immaculate for most people. It was a great event. People enjoyed it mostly. For the ones that did attend and who didn't get stuck into the silly things that were going on, people did enjoy it and they were having lots of fun. And I'm glad people did feel like they enjoyed and felt comfortable to take part in it. But it's just the minority of people that are getting all the attention for all the wrong reasons and letting it down. So I'm giving Sadiq Khan the benefit of the doubt for this one because for most of it is immaculate. And then when the news stories come out, it makes him look a bit like an idiot in some ways when it's not really. So yeah, it's a shame, really.
I think that it is an interesting issue for the Mayor of London right now because you got to think, yes, the press might be negative, but this man is in charge of London and in charge of a very busy, probably the busiest city in the country. And yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what the next few weeks will be like for Sadiq Khan. I honestly think his days are numbered, to be honest, given horrible scenes over the last few weeks. The police are not doing their job properly enough. Dancing to a Macarena is one thing that we do not want to be seeing these officers do when there's crimes going around and criminals need catching. Just like we say, we are the good guys, the police catch the bad guys. It's simple as that. Make sure the police are doing their job properly. Please comment down below, guys. Do you think crime laws need to be toughened? Please let me know in the comments. Now, continuing with the Charlie Tolhurst show live on YouTube this evening, we're going to move over to the next part of the show, the next subject, cost of living crisis now being one of the biggest topics in the news at the moment. Now, let's talk about today's news, which is to do with transport. Now, it has been announced the government are planning to reduce bus fares to £2. So people will have to pay £2 for going on a bus. Now, should bus travel be cheaper? Should bus travel be more expensive? Or should bus travel in general be free overall? It's a very important issue right now that is on the minds of many Conservative voters, many voters in general in the media. Zach, what do you make of this proposed announcement by Transport Secretary Grant Shapps?
I will give the benefit. I'll give the benefit of doubt to Grant Shapps. I think it's good policy. I think it should be made permanent, not just for 2 months to address cost of living. I think it should be made permanent. In Manchester, Andy Burnham have adopted a £2 maximum cost for buses, trains, all that sort of area, and that's good policy. And from my experience, Charlie, when I've had to ever use a bus, which has been a long time ago, I remember the last time I had to use a bus was 2018, I think it was. 2018. I used a public bus. It was costing, £3, £2.90, £3.60 to just get 1 mile up the road. I mean, if I go from somewhere like Chelmsford, it would take £5.60, which getting the length wasn't bad, but it's still a lot of money. And I have to say, I can't imagine what the prices would be if I had to use the bus today. I couldn't imagine it. It was expensive then just to go up a mile across the road, and it may well, but it's probably expensive today. So capping it at £2 should be a permanent option, not just for between January and March for 3 months. It should be made permanent. Andy Burnham's done that in Manchester. In Tracy Brabin in West Yorkshire has managed to do that as well. Cap bus prices. It's a good policy. It will be a very popular and good policy, and it only costs £30 million for 2 months. Now that if it's only costing 30 million overall, Charlie, then it should be made a permanent policy. I think this is a good first step, but it should be made permanent. So credit when credit's due to Grant Shapps, because I do agree this policy. But then again, I also think at the same time it's a good policy, but also I think that Grant Shapps has to realise that it's Labour policies that are being proven popular here. I'm not trying to. I know I sound party political when I say that, but this idea has been kind of adopted from the Labour Party positioning from the mayors, whether Liverpool, Manchester, West Yorkshire, all those Labour mayors capping putting price caps on public transport is one of the reasons why they are being elected as they are today, and why they're very popular in the city, because it feels like they care for people. And yes, I'll give fairness, as I said to Grant Shapps, it's a good policy what he's done outside of London and doing it everywhere. It's a very good policy. But I also now think it should go further and be made permanent. I know the bus company private bus companies will probably be not happy because they can't make it a little bit less profit off of it. But what you'll probably find out, it will make more people want to be able to use buses. And actually, it will just make it a bit more popular. People won't feel like they can't afford not to use a bus. And as I said, it will make it more popular and people will start using buses more. Which, anything, is a good thing. It is a good thing. And capping it at £2, again, good option. But I also think they should go further and make it permanent. If it only costs, was it 30 million per month?
Yeah.
30 million for 2 months, sorry. Then it should be made permanent, because if we did that for 12, it would be only £260 a year, £1 million a year, which on the face of it isn't expensive at all. I think it should be made permanent.
It's not just bus fares as well. I used to get a train up to college, up at South Essex College up in Grays when I was there in Thurrock. It costed me like £5.60 just for a train fare. And I'm like, all right, that's expensive. You
terrible.
need to reduce some of these fares because people aren't going to afford them at times. And given what's going to be happening with the energy crisis, knowing Sizewell C is going to be announced and the Conservative Party are turning their attention nuclear now, or should we say more green policies? I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how profits in businesses are going to stay around. And it's not just the fares that have been announced this week as well that's been on. There is also potential to see news on energy supplies affecting businesses across this country. Hospitality businesses are dying out for support right now, and I'm going to be mentioning something in my Great British Star and Red Devil later on in the show about hospitality in one industry in particular. But I think we have to face the facts here that if there is significant energy crisis, and as that reported in one newspaper the other day, I'm not sure what this was, but
it was the Eye, I think, wasn't it?
In the Eye newspaper, Putin shutting off gas supplies to Europe, that's bad, isn't it?
Yeah, Nord Stream 1, that is the gas supply, that is the gas stream that is being cut off indefinitely. This is presumably another tactic of Putin's war on energy in Europe, and yeah, it's going to cause even more harm for those who rely on Russian gas. And
take
oil.
Germany, for example.
Yeah. And I understand from what from what I'm reading is they're planning to do some sort of partnership with Spain in the future to get their own sort of energy, help with energy dependency, which I think is much better than relying on Russia, because Nord Stream 1 is going to cause problems, especially in Germany, where they're heavily reliant on the Russians for oil and gas. Gazprom announced that they'll be shutting it down. They're claiming that there was a pipe incident. That means it'll be definitely shut down. Well, it's a bit of a crap explanation, because it's again what it is, Charlie, is Putin's war on energies to expose energy countries, and I think some countries will be able to fight through it, but some are not. And even if we are like this country, for example, even if we are fighting this, we're going to have our own energy problems of our own. I mean, there's talks about blackouts in the winter. Liz Truss is saying that we will not need an emergency supply of energy this winter, and there won't be blackouts. I'd like to bookmark that in about a month or two time, depending on what really happens, or even 3 months. I remember all the words that she says if she does get in on Monday, and I remember all the words that she said and see if it bites her in the back, because it's the sort of statement that's quite bold to make, but it's also with lots of risks, and it will come back to haunt her if we're in a situation where I can't even use my lighting in here because we've run out of energy. So yeah, it's a big bold statement Liz Truss has made, but it's unrealistic, personally, in my view.
It reminds me of taking Britain back to the dark ages of the Blitz, the Second World War. Be aware of the blackout was what was it? I mean, does anyone remember, guys? And I'm going to sort of go off a topic here, but remember our energy consumption? There was this propaganda poster during the Second World War where it was a cat on a poster.
Yeah, it was Russians, yeah.
Basically, it was. I know this was to do with enemy bombers in that, but if anyone remembers this propaganda poster I'm about to show you now, it is quite cool. I know it's from the Second World War, but remember, guys, when we turned all the lights off to save energy during the Second World War, that was to stop enemy bombers like the Germans bombing like city homes and cities in London and stuff. That was also done to save energy, because we would have ended up having a massive energy crisis then anyway, and we did in the Second World War. But I just want to show you this picture here, which it kind of reminds me of. This was an air raid warning. I've got 9 lives with dangers on the road. Until your eyes get used to the darkness, take it easy. Look out in the blackout. Kind of reminds me of that cat, really. Oh, I mean, it's like, does this cat sound like a devil? in disguise. It very much kind of reminds me of that. The fact that we're seeing Britain could go into blackout, people could be forced to work from home for a few days, and people finish work earlier. Or I fear.
I don't mind working from home. To be fair, I've worked from home for a few times over the last few weeks, so I don't mind personally.
It is becoming the new norm, and I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how people get on with potential blackouts and that. And comment down below, guys, what you make. Do you think there should be a blackout in Britain again? To help solve the energy crisis? Please comment down below. On that one, moving on now to this part. Moving on now to the war in Ukraine. Not much on that this week, apart from that, Ukraine fighting back in Kherson.
Oh yes, absolutely. They have started this week. Ukraine have started their counteroffensive in the south of Ukraine, and it's a very important counteroffensive because they're looking at reclaiming Kherson, which is obviously one of the cities that was first occupied by Russia when this war started on them. But it's clear to me that the Ukrainians have sort of planned this for months now, rather than rushing into anything. They've very much planned this, and it's looking like it's working so far. Elements outside the Kherson area is being retaken by the Ukrainians, which was currently previously held by the Russians. So this is important in some ways, Charlie, because it means that Ukrainians are managing to attack defense positions that the Russians previously held. They're getting their defense positions, they are bypassing them, and they are advancing, importantly. And it will be interesting how fast they can pick up Kherson again. It is likely that they can do it, but how fast, we don't know. But this is important because they're getting in the right positions. They are attacking the defense positions very well for the Russians, and Russia are having to retreat and move back and run out of ammo to be able to defend themselves. So it's a big attack that the Ukrainians are doing at the moment, but it's an important one because it could mean they get Kherson back as well. So, there's been other events happening today. Now, the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant, which has been under attack a little bit, they are now relying on the reserve line. They've been disconnected from the remaining power line. This is an area of concern that I think we should keep our eye on. The International Atomic Energy Agency have obviously tried to inspect the site, but Russians have been causing a bit of obstruction in this, and they've tried to disrupt this as much as they can. The IAEA have basically said that the power line had been knocked offline earlier on Saturday, as well, in some way. So they're obviously the Russians causing a problem here. The EU expects Russia to respect these energy contract prepared to meet the challenge and fails to do so. Gazprom announced Nord Stream pipeline 1 will not restart after G7 finance minister. They plan to implement a price cap on Russian oil to reduce Russia's ability to fund its aggression. Gazprom is obviously part of the Russian propaganda machine, so not really surprising there. An 8-year-old has died in Mykolaiv, unfortunately, because there's been shelling there. As well, 2 other children were among those in Russian shelling. Russian troops launched overnight rocket attacks on Kharkov and Slovaks in eastern Ukraine. So there's probably more counteroffensive there.
More war crimes as well. Don't forget earlier in the war they killed a baby in Odessa.
As well. So lots of action going on there as well. I just want to say something as well, right off Russia, because and Ukraine as well, because I think this is relevant as well. Earlier this week, we've learned of the passing of Mikhail Gorbachev, the final ever leader of the Soviet Union. He was the one that actually brought peace, I think, to be fair, Charlie, to Russia. and to other countries and let other countries like Germany, Poland run themselves, really, to be fair. And he was one that led peace agreements. He he didn't always do good things, but one of the things that he did was very well respected was they were that previous enemies that he had was able to talk to, come to peace agreements, and basically broke up the Soviet Union, a powerful entity that was dictated lives, and he managed to break that up and preserve the life of other countries to their own democratic form.
Yeah.
So may his obviously thoughts for the family and everyone involved known Mikhail Gorbachev, and may his memory be a blessing.
Yeah, I think obviously it's an interesting loss. And also as well, he did, I think, oppose the war in Ukraine as well, which was another one that I think is on there. And also Russia's annexation of Crimea in 2014, the illegal annexation of another sovereign nation. That was a territory of Ukraine that got seized by Russia after a so-called referendum was result, proxy referendum that was launched in Crimea, which was originally part of Ukraine. So the conflict there's been going on for a while, and Vladimir Putin silences the majority in his country, banning free speech wherever you want it. His view is we need you to fight in Ukraine, which we don't want you to do. It is the war.
Yeah.
The war in Ukraine is an absurdity, in my view. I'm echoing the words of Antonio Guterres there. The war is an absurdity. So, yeah, indeed. Moving on now to the sport briefing. I'm going to go straight in with Formula One action today in the Dutch Grand Prix at Zandvoort. A track that saw many changes throughout its time. Jenson Button also drove a 1975 win in Hesketh, which was actually the car that James Hunt won his first ever Grand Prix in. And also that was actually the circuit where he claimed his first ever Grand Prix win as well. Went on to win in 76 the World Championship by just few points from Niki Lauda. Zach, qualifying today, home hero Max Verstappen on pole, despite not having a promising weekend to start.
Yeah, Friday didn't look very good for Red Bull at all. They were struggling to find pace. They had the wrong setup on the car. Max Verstappen broke down in FP1, had a gearbox issue. Did use one of his allocated gearboxes to replace the one that he broke down in, so no penalty there. And overall, Red Bull got the balance wrong on Friday. However, today they managed to find a setup that really suited the car, although it was much closer than it was in Spa, Charlie. It was much closer, though. And they still didn't get Cole Pumphrey. I think it was just 200 of a second they managed to just get pole by overall. So, yeah, it was a very close qualifying. The top three were from three different teams: Verstappen, Leclerc, Sainz, Red Bull, Ferrari. Oh, actually, it was top two. Sorry, but it was the top. It was going to be, and then I sort of realised that Leclerc and Sainz are right next to each other. But it's not. It's very close. It is very close. And actually, Mercedes could have been up there had it not been for Sergio Perez bottling it and putting it into the gravel, causing a red flag. I was very interested to see what Mercedes' pace would have been throughout a whole lap. I imagine they'll be very close to the Red Bulls. I think it's going to be an interesting race tomorrow, no doubt about it, because strategy is going to be play. And Mercedes are genuinely better on race pace than qualifying pace most of the time.
Mm.
So it would be very, very interesting to see how they do on race pace tomorrow. It will be fascinating. Hamilton's got fourth. Russell is sixth. Perez is... It's going to... Obviously, Russell has to get past Perez. But it's very interesting. And I'll be very interested also to see what the Ferraris do, because they're second and third.
Yeah.
And they could split strategies to catch Max out throughout the race as well. So it will be a very interesting race in terms of strategy tomorrow and in terms of race pace and setup. It's going to be crucial on that one. So Verstappen on pole ahead of Leclerc and Sainz, Hamilton fourth, Perez fifth, Russell sixth. Norris good qualifying, I think, in seventh. The same can't be said for his now departing teammate at the end of the season, Daniel Ricciardo, in a dismal P17, unfortunately. After all, there was some drama. There really was an Oscar award going to McLaren for next year. And it really does. And over the silly season really has felt like the Oscars all over. But the contact dispute board met on Friday. They said that the McLaren had the legitimate contract for Oscar Piastri, and he's racing that car for the next 2 years. And I said to one of my mates the other day, Charlie, that Alpine have now lost a 2-time world champion, a future young driver, and hopefully in the future they'll probably lose their main lawyer who even brought this case to disputes, because whoever manages the whole contract should be sacked, quite frankly. An embarrassing, financially terrible, awful and unnecessary situation for Alpine to think that they've got Piastri for another year, and no, they're absolutely wrong. So it may well be that the certain Pierre Gasly starting 11th there could end up in that Alpine seat, according to what the rumours say. It's interesting because he has another year on his contract. Although it appears that Red Bull are more sympathetic to Alpine to releasing Gasly and putting someone else in that seat. No one who I should point out whilst we're here, whose future is going to also be uncertain, is Mick Schumacher, because he is leaving the Ferrari Driver Academy at the end of the season, and it looks like he's going to be without a seat next year, potentially, alongside potentially Ricardo. And they both may lose their seats. So where Mick goes is going to be interesting. But I can't see Mick or Daniel Ricciardo with F1 seats so far currently next year. It'll be interesting, but there's still a way to go, and there could still will be twists and turns in this. There's going to be obviously a few new drivers next year. Obviously, with Piastri, he's a very fine young Australian talent as well. But it's going to be interesting nevertheless.
Yeah. I just have to say that after last weekend's Belgian Grand Prix, Max Verstappen winning by 20 seconds from 14th on the grid, it feels like Ferrari's championship challenge might be over, I think. Just looking at it. And Lewis Hamilton and Fernando Alonso finally accept blame after colliding last week down at Les Combes. Fernando calling Lewis Hamilton an idiot. I'm sure an idiot was meant with quite an interesting appraisal when they both met on Thursday at Zandvoort.
They helmets, didn't they? They got. I think it was I can't remember what was it. Hamilton gave Alonso his helmet or something like that as a joke. It was an interest. They both made up, by the way, and they both get along still very well. But it was interesting nevertheless. It was quite funny to watch that as well.
Oh God, don't remember what happened in Hungary 2007. Oh, them two. Alonso didn't allow Hamilton on the lap. McLaren didn't score any points that weekend, and Alonso got demoted on the grid as well. I think 5 places for it. So, oh God, don't remember that. But on the quali times, Max Verstappen on pole, Charles Leclerc second, Lewis Hamilton third, Perez fourth, George Russell fifth, Lando Norris sixth, Mick Schumacher seventh, Mick Schumacher eighth. Sorry, Yuki Tsunoda ninth, Lance Stroll competing the points. The big losers today, Alpine didn't get through to Q2, or Q3, sorry. Alex Albon got out of Q1. Bottas continues his dreadful qualifying run over the last couple of races. Sebastian Vettel was on a good lap and then bottled it on the final run, but just before the Arie Luyendyk final corner. Nicholas Latifi, slowest out of all the drivers once again for the 4th straight race in a row. Tomorrow afternoon, there will be action, I think about 2 o'clock, for the Dutch Grand Prix live on Sky Sports. F1, we're going to move on to NASCAR now, talking about the playoffs coming up this weekend, the first of the NASCAR playoff races this season. The round of 16 taking place at Darlington. Last weekend, we went to Daytona. There was a massive crash, including Chase Elliott, Kyle Larson, all eliminated in a huge wreck as the rain started to fall. And Zach, we ended up with a different winner. And this time, Austin Dillon sneaks into the playoffs.
Yeah, that win at the end for Austin Dillon, making it through that accident and then managing to hold off the rest of what was about 14 drivers left on the lead lap by the time that everyone else wrecked. on that, being left, finishing ahead of those 14 drivers is especially important. Winning that race meant he got himself a playoff spot at the expense of Martin Truex Jr., who failed to finish high enough, just missed out in the end by several points. He failed to finish high enough, which meant that he was left outside the playoff spots. He could have got it in had it not been for Austin Dillon winning that race. He would have got into the playoff again. But there we now have the 16 that are set now for the playoffs. There's 10 races left, and we got 16 drivers that are ready to start off. So we're going to do the first 3 rounds, and after 3 rounds, we're going to eliminate a few drivers. We're going to be down to 12 after 3 rounds. But let me tell you who's actually in the playoff this year. It is Chase Elliott, Joe Logano, Ross Chastain, Kyle Larson, William Byron, Denny Hamlin, Ryan Blaney, Tyler Reddick, Kevin Harvick, Christopher Bell, Kyle Busch, Chase Briscoe, Daniel Suarez, Austin Cindric, Alex Bowman, and Austin Dillon are the 16 drivers this year fighting to become NASCAR Cup Series champion for 2022. All the drivers, apart from Ryan Blaney, made it into the playoffs via winning. Ryan Blaney was the only one who raced via points into the playoffs. So this weekend we are at Darlington Speedway. This is round 1 of the playoffs. It's the Cookout Southern 500.
Cookout Southern 500, yeah.
At Darlington Raceway. 500 miles. It's going to be a very long race, given the track. We had qualifying, I believe, today. It's Joe Logano on pole position. The one that is going to start second in the standings based on the amount of playoff points that he achieved throughout the season. He is on pole ahead of Christopher Bell. William Byron's in 3rd, Tyler Reddick 4th, Kyle Busch 5th, Austin Cindric 6th, Kyle Larson 7th, Bubba Wallace is 8th, Ryan Blaney 9th, and Michael McDowell is leading the top 10 as well on that one. I believe the Xfinity Series race is currently underway, if I'm correct. Yes, it's on lap 67 at the moment. They're having their race at the moment. And Noah Gragson is the one in the lead, apart from the fact that it looks like he's 3 minutes ahead when I don't know really where he is 3 minutes ahead. It looks like some timing glitches on here. But Noah Gragson is currently ahead of Brandon Jones, Justin Allgaier, Christopher Bell, and Sheldon Creed in 5th position at the moment. I've got Ty Gibbs 6th, AJ Allmendinger 7th, Austin Hill in 8th as well, Ross Chastain 9th, and Josh Berry in 10th position at the moment. That is the currently what's going on in the Xfinity Series race. The Camping World Truck Series is not back until next week.
Yeah, that blue. They go to Kansas for the Blue Emu Maximum Pain Relief 200.
Yeah, but tomorrow is the Cookout Southern 500. That will be at 11 p.m. UK time for that race as well, and that will be the first of 3 races in the playoff before they go. So next week they're going to be going to Kansas, the second round in the playoff for Hollywood Casino 300, and then the Bristol Motor Speedway they'll be doing on the tarmac. That one, the Bass Pro Shops night race on the tarmac. That will be the one where we're going to start eliminating some drivers after the race as well. Anyone, if you are 12th, if you are 12th to 1st, you are safe. Anyone from 13th to 16th will be out after 3 races. So tomorrow night is the first big test for the 16 drivers that are in the playoff.
Yeah, plenty of them. We've got playoff action for NASCAR. Cookout Southern 500 tomorrow. Can't wait for the first playoff rounds. In order by Bristol, we'll have a few drivers that will be knocked out of the playoffs. Time now for the football results. Premier League action is now on, and we're going to round up the scores, including a video that I'm going to play on a decision which a lot of you guys might have to say regarding VAR. Let's go. Everton and Liverpool on match day 6 was a goalless draw. Tottenham 2, Fulham 1. Nottingham Forest 2, Bournemouth 3. Chelsea 2, West Ham 1. Brentford 5, Leeds United 2. Wolves 1, Southampton 0. Newcastle and Crystal Palace was a goalless draw. Aston Villa won. Manchester City won. That was the 5:30 kickoff today. Now, are you ready, guys? I'm now going to play for you this little clip of what happened between Chelsea and West Ham. Have a listen to this.
Still not on target, but it's a decent strike that from Kovacic. Cornell takes, punched away by Mendy, comes out to Bowen on the volley. That is the first meaningful attempt on target in the game. What a good strike from Jared Bowen.
You could see it pretty much all the way. It's a good line for him. He's moving across his goal in that direction as well.
Bowen's corner. Akente got his hand to it. And Rice, it's in! West Ham United seize the initiative. And the away end has gone completely potty. Mikel Antonio right on the goal line. Rice celebrates. I think it's Antonio's goal. West Ham don't care who got it. They take the lead in this London derby. What is Chelsea's reaction? Roya. Put away by Kena. Kovacic with the ball in players line. And the goalkeeper lost it. There was no foul.
It was actually Seabrook that could easily have just gone through Fabianski's legs and Chelsea could have equalised.
A little turn from Shearer. He's done it. The bench onto the score sheet to equalise for Chelsea.
And Chilwell's reaction is incredible. The ball spins off his head, he turns a full 180, realises where he is, gets his bearings, and manages to nudge it through the legs of Fabianski. He's outstanding from Chilwell, but defensively, West Ham so poor.
Chilwell. He's lashed it in to surely win it for the Blues.
Most unlikely of winners from Chelsea. It's a game that they've dominated, haven't created good chances, but they lead.
Here's Cornet with a chance. It's 2-2. Astonishing. Well, when they're sent to the monitor to have a look, it's usually because they're going to change their mind. Is that enough for a foul by Bowen on Mendy? Is he going to stick with his original decision? No, it's a free kick to Chelsea.
Thank you there to the coverage of the Premier League there for a very interesting VAR decision that me and Zach are going to debate or talk about now. So, what did you make to all the matches of the Premier League? Oh, Rob, Zach's on mute there.
Oh, yes. Sorry. I want to go on that Chelsea West Ham one because obviously the one of the talking points was that VAR decision to overturn that goal because of the goalkeeping and the handball, what they could describe as the tackle. I have to say that wasn't even a penalty all day. That wasn't even a disallowed goal all day long. It was such a ridiculous decision in my view. Not even enough of a contact being made to even overturn it. I mean, he had the hands on the ball for heaven's sake. I mean, ridiculous. It was an absolute ridiculous decision to overturn that goal. It should have been a score draw. It should have been a West Ham draw. And yeah, it was quite frankly diabolical VARing. No doubt about it. It was just such a terrible decision. It was just an absolute terrible decision. Everton Liverpool was quite eventful in some ways. There was a lot of missed chances, quite spectacular shots. I managed to hit the goal at the end of the day, unfortunately. Well, they did. Everton did, but got disallowed also as well for that one. They could have actually easily won that as well. Tottenham, they're starting a good performance. It's a good start to the season for them. 2-1 victory. I don't think they've actually lost any of their games yet so far. Bournemouth, after sacking Scott Parker, have managed to, win with a major comeback, 2-0 behind Nottingham Forest, getting to the second half. They're 3-2 up. Great job by them. We already discussed the Chelsea West Ham. Brentford, what a thumping that was. Ivan Torre with a hat-trick. 5-2 thumping of Leeds. Wolves Southampton, it was a crucial win for the Wolves, I have to say, because they've managed to finally get their season off to a start. In that respect, Newcastle, Crystal Palace ended up with a goalless draw. Not much happening there. Villa managed to come from behind to draw the game. It was a very important goal there. Erling Haaland as well scored 10 in, I think it was 6 matches. Incredible job by him. Just a great start. And so that's the game today. Tomorrow, Brighton-Leicester. Can Leicester finally get off the bottom spot and win a match? Or is Brendan Rodgers' future at risk, unfortunately, for that one? And the main game tomorrow, it's going to be a big one, I think, this one. Manchester United v Arsenal. A very classic meeting. Arsenal, I've gone 5 from 5. This is going to be the biggest test yet. Can they win 6 from 6 and go 4 clear from Manchester City? That would be very interesting to see. But it's going to be a big test, especially with Erik ten Hag's side managing to win the last 3 games. It's important right now that, it's going to be an interesting one. It's going to be a very interesting game. And I expect it to be quite feisty tomorrow because, if as I said, if Arsenal win this, they go 4 points clear at the top of the standings.
Yeah, as you can see, standings here, Arsenal and Man City and Tottenham and Brighton all in Champions League positions there. Top 5 completed by Chelsea. And also, in the relegation zone is West Ham, Nottingham Forest, and, of course, Leicester City, who have yet to get off the mark. Brendan Rodgers could, if he loses tomorrow, be in a world of pain. And we know with Scott Parker, who was the first manager sacked, could Brendan Rodgers become the next managerial victim to fall in the Premier League? Just have to wait and see. Moving on now to Charlie's good news. What good news do I have this week? Because obviously the schools go back next week. I want to try and bring you positive news to the area. Well, let's start by talking about positive news stories in the world here. So I'm going to quickly mention about this. The South Essex cinemas, where you can watch any film from just £3 today, is Charlie's good news story this week. £3 to go and watch something at the cinema. Does that sound very weird? Trust me. This is what we got. If you're a film fan, then this weekend there's a treat of films in store. Today, September 30th, is National Cinema Day. And around the country, £3 offered in any format, 2D or 4DX. Cineworld is based at the Basildon Festival Leisure Park and is open to a bumper crop of titles, releases such as Jordan Peele's latest opera Nope, to this Idris Elba in Survival trailer. Also, best to the 80s classic Star Trek is Worth the Wraith of Khan, and also as well E.T. Extraterrestrial. Current films include Brad Pitt's Bullet Train, Top Gun, Maverick, starring Tom Cruise, also be shown as well. Elvis, very famous film on the famous singer Elvis Presley. Spider-Man No Way Home, The Forgiven, and psychological horror prequel Orphan First Kill. For children, there'll be plenty of showings, including Minions, Rise of Gru. Oh, I really want to go and see that film. Tad the Lost Explorer, and also The Curse of the Mummy, as well as DC League of Super Pets. Southend's Odeon Cinema has also taken part in the scheme. We show a number of new films, as well as Forex VUE Cinema at Lakeside Shopping Centre in Grace, Chafford 100 Essex. So, plenty of films. They're some of the films that I mentioned that you can get for £3 a showing. It's pretty cool, going to a cinema and watch a film for £3. As well, I know exactly what films I've been watching this week. Don't ask me on my social media. I have been watching Blue People. Yes, I have been watching The Smurfs, as you would have seen from the Instagram page. I did actually watch The Lost Village on Tuesday. Oh, wow. Probably the best animated Smurfs movie I've seen, about Smurfettes creations of originally being created by evil wizard Gargamel and then destroying Smurf Village and then Papa Smurf turning into a blue Smurf. That song at the end of the film, you'll always find me and go, you're in your heart. Go and check that out live on Spotify. Really emotional song by Shady Scott there. And also, if you've heard the song by Bebe Rexha, I'm Blue or I'm Good was also featured. Loads of music.
David Guetta, yeah.
David Guetta, yeah. We all know, guys, when music plays in the show. We also had I'm a Lady as well by Meghan Trainor being in the song, which I also put on this morning when I got up for work. So, some interesting films there. £3 to go and watch a film, whether it's Top Gun Maverick or I don't know. Zach, what do you make to this interesting offer in Essex cinemas right now?
It reminds me of the bus offer that's going to start in January. Yeah, it's a, I suppose the cinema industry is a bit vulnerable at this stage, given that potentially Cineworld could be in a bit of trouble. Yeah, they could. Well, there was reports of going to file for liquidation in America quite a while ago. So it's a bit of a concern. So obviously, this is trying to get the cinema industry up and going again. But so this is a good offer. Whether people want to take this, it's interesting because everything these days is dominated by Netflix, Amazon Prime, Disney Plus, Discovery Plus, all these big streaming devices and that sort of thing. So the cinema is becoming a declining industry, and these offers are probably going to be helping people actually. You know what? The streaming alternatives are too expensive. Here I are, go to the cinema and enjoy it there.
Yeah, I must admit it's going to be interesting, and obviously watching new films this week as well. The movie world is certainly getting more interesting. I mean, there's been reports out of Despicable Me 4 being in the works. We know that there's also more films being planned. Top Gun Maverick being a re-release of an original 1980s film where Tom Cruise was in. I'm sure many people do remember. If you do remember a famous quote Tom Cruise actually said, please comment down below and watch a Channel 4 video, because actually there was a video where Channel 4's F1 team drove around Silverstone, I think in Porsche 911s or Porsche Caymans, and Tom Cruise actually done a little Top Gun style sketch with them. Pretty cool, I can't wait for that. So that's all I'm going to say, guys. Charlie's Good News returns again next week. It's time now to crack on with the news agenda with a look at the front pages now of the latest newspapers, including as well local news headlines later on in a bit, should I say. Let's go with the 3 papers that have been released as well. The Daily Star goes with a rather interesting comical headline. Live and let fry up. For your pies only, MI5 looking for chubby secret agents. Sunday Express goes, Prime Minister's tough message Tories. Boris, stop fighting and back the new Prime Minister. Johnson writes for the Sunday Express as Liz Truss vows to guide the nation through a storm, which includes, and we're going to be talking about this in a minute, speed limits. Mandatory removal of speed limits on motorways as well. Me and Zach will discuss that in a minute. The Observer goes for packed cabinet with Johnson loyalists at your peril, Truss is told. And that is currently today's newspapers.
Yeah. Okay. So let's start with the ones today, and then we'll probably go for the others because we're a little bit earlier tonight discussing it. So let's start with the comical headline today: "For your pies only." It sounds a bit like a James Bond reference, but this is MI5 we're talking about here. They are looking for chubby secret agents. The Secret Services are offering new recruits a license to grill. MI5 is looking for new spies, and bosses say tubby agents will be harder to spot than a muscle-bound Bond. What? Okay. Well, first of all, I think it's going to be obvious that people eat pies. Is that if they put a suit on, then they're probably going to look as fat as that. Because I have to admit, it's obvious that you're going to be big and eating pies if your belly's up to here. I mean, yeah, that's all right. That looks pretty, yeah. Someone put a bit of weight on, looked like they went to McDonald's every day. But if you put the whole suit and tie on, you're going to be noticed quite a lot, I have to say. But for your pies only, I mean, who knows they live for pies? They could be eating other crap to be, as far as I'm aware. I don't know. What side of things do you think they probably? I don't actually know. I don't even know at all, really. To be fair, it's a bemusing quite option that they are doing eating pies. Just obsessing about them, but okay. That priorities in my i5, I see. It's a weird one. The Sunday Express. Now, Boris Johnson has actually written for the Sunday Express. He's called on Tories to reunite around their new leader, whoever it's going to be. It's going to be one of Rishi Sunak or Liz Truss tomorrow. Where not tomorrow, Monday. Apologies. That's going to be announced 12:30 on a Monday. Interestingly, this year, something quite interesting this year, they're having to travel to Balmoral this year to be sworn in as the new Prime Minister, rather than go up to Windsor, to the Buckingham Palace, because the Queen, obviously due to her mobility issues, is actually stuck in Scotland at the moment. So they all have to travel all the way up to Scotland to be sworn in as new Prime Minister and be accepted on. As well, I have to say, being a Conservative Prime Minister to travel to Scotland as a first visit is quite, I have to say, very awkward. I'm sure Nicola Sturgeon will find a dig somewhere for the new leader, whoever it will be, probably Liz Truss, depending on what's happening, if the polls are correct. But yes, Boris Johnson is called basically for warn Tories to end their bitter infighting and unite behind the new leaders. And he said they must back his successor wholeheartedly to stand chance of winning the next general election.
Yeah.
As well. The Observer, pack cabinet with Johnson loyalists at your peril. Truss has been told. Top Tories will likely contest winner as well. That they, pack your cabinet of loyalists, but it may not work out totally, because that's what the plan is to. Liz Truss, if she does win the elections, is to pack it with loyalists, basically. I mean, loyalists like Kwasi Kwarteng, Jacobs Rees-Mogg, Simon Clarke,
Nadine Zahawi.
Nadine Zahawi as well. It'll be interesting what happens to Nadine Dorries, because she has actually been offered a cultural secretary role to retain her post, but it's maybe also possible that she gets periods from Boris Johnson in the future as well. So it may be that she decides not to stay in the cabinet and instead go back to the unelected House of Lords, where she'll be getting her daily pension pay down there as well. I just call it the pensions place because it really is just full of pensioners in there as well. In there, but there's a lot of Johnson Truss loyalists wanting a place in there. We'll go through the others actually because we're a bit early on, and most of the paper hasn't come out. Independent goes for Russia ramps up energy war by cutting gas supply. This is obviously their cutting of Nord Stream 1 to various countries across Europe. And yeah, as I said, the war on energy is going to continue throughout the winter. And as the situation gets worse, with energy prices go up, gas prices go up as well, Russia will continue digging in and make energy a pain for Europe as much as possible. One area that we haven't discussed, I think, Charlie, as well, is that if Liz Truss gets in, her first act as Prime Minister could well be bringing back fracking, which I think is a terrible decision. I think it's a waste of taxpayers' money and environmentally stupid. And also approving 120 oil permits in the North Sea, which I read, Charlie, would take up to 30 years just to get the oil out of the North Sea.
Yeah, and also the speed limits as well. Think about how many accidents there'd be if you remove motorway speed limits. It's
an interesting one. So just off the papers a minute. So Liz Truss talked about including German-style speed limits. Not really speed limits, because there's not really speed limits on the German motorway. The Duesenberg,
Autobahn,
Autobahn, a name I keep forgetting, even though I've heard it thousands of times already. The Autobahn, they have no speed limits. I can't imagine if we remove some speed limits off the motorway, such as the M25, for example, how much of a hellhole that's going to be. And given the fact that British drivers are well known for being idiots on the road, where you're going to probably get some 90-year-old pensioner drive 40 on the a 20-year-old driving 150 down it and cause an accident.
Probably some guy in his little the thing about some of these boy racers driving Vauxhall Novas or possibly a Lamborghini Aventador and they floor it down the M1 or somewhere, or maybe someone gets do you know all these getaway cars that people drive, like I don't know, these Audis, these BMW M3 Series or something, M3 Sport 50 IM Sports. It's going to create a world of pain for police, I'm sure.
Yeah, I can't imagine how much chaos it's going to cause. It's going to be worse than smart motorways. Let me tell you that. I know smart motorways gets a lot of criticism, but removing speed limits off the motorways is just even worse than smart motorways. Let's just say that. I mean, the idea of smart motorways are good, and then when it's executed terribly, then you wonder why it's on the chopping block potentially as well. The Guardian, yesterday's Guardian, they go for police law and order plans have been criticised by police chiefs for boosting crime fighting as unwise and meaningless. Crime is going to be a big sector, I think, where the new Prime Minister is going to have to really tackle the problem. And it doesn't appear that the plans for Liz Truss's one are being seen by police chiefs as anything efficient enough or enough to solve the problem of crime across the United Kingdom, because it's
especially what happened in the last few weeks, given Olivia Platt-Corbell and a 21-year-old rapper being stabbed at Notting Hill last week.
Okay, yeah, absolutely, no doubt about that as well. So it's going to be an interesting one thing for the Prime Minister to really get a tackle on. The Daily Mail goes for a rather pro-Boris headline. Now end the party probe witch hunt. This is obviously involving the Privilege Committee, because there's been a QC that have done what they call an opinion for Boris Johnson, who thinks it's going to be declared unlawful if into whether Boris Johnson lies to Parliament. Now, keep in mind, I think he's wrong here, because this number one, this is a committee. This is a parliamentary committee where they can it's their powers to do these sort of things. And number two, one of the exposures that have been found in this opinion is that the taxpayer is actually paying for this legal opinion. No, seriously, the taxpayer are paying for this legal opinion by this QC. They got a contract from the Cabinet Office, which costs about £400,000 for 4 months. So this legal advice has come at the expense of taxpayers. And Conservative MPs have actually warned not to do this, of scrapping the Privilege Committee investigation, because otherwise it makes it look like the Tories have not learned from Owen Paterson at all. So, yeah, do it if you dare, and see how that goes round. Well, the Telegraph goes for energy plan day one for Truss. Liz Truss presented a plan to ministers within 24 hours of taking office. So it sounds like she's been working that up. That includes fracking, oil permits, that sort of thing.
Sounds like the media think Liz Truss is the most obvious candidate to be Prime Minister.
Yeah, sort of obviously, yeah. Oil permits, gas, fracking area, green levy gone for a while, moratorium on that. I mean, yeah, it's not very environmentally friendly, whatever her plan is. Let's just say that. The Times goes for the gas.
The Vladimir Putin Western gas sanctions.
Yeah,
the Daily Express, with probably the most important headline of the day, and of not the week so far, Tories put on war footing for a snap election. This comes as Britain's next Prime Minister will demand the Tory party put on election footing, as Labour have had a surge in the polls recently under Sir Keir Starmer.
And a lot have had surge in private donations as well. So private donors are going back to the Labour Party, most importantly. So they're getting the funds that they need as well. Their snap election they are talking about, though, Charlie, is 2023, which is a year away. So not really quite a snap election. But obviously, I think Liz Truss is going to put money where her mouth is and probably get all the cash and flows in to make sure that it can fight for election next year. Whether they win an election is going to be another thing.
I don't think they will. I'm not confident.
Well, yeah, it'll be interesting nevertheless, Charlie, because I just can't see it at the moment. They're down in the polls. It's if they wouldn't win election, let's just say that. If it's been held today, the Daily Mail, as we talked about, the Queen's going to miss in the Highlands Games, as I said before. Her mobility issues mean she's stuck at Balmoral in Scotland rather than in Buckingham Palace. So she's missed the Highlands game because of her ongoing mobility issues and problems there, unfortunately for her. Wish her all the best, obviously. The Financial Times, interestingly, goes for reports that Liz Truss plans to cut taxes, defence spending will blow 60 billion hole in the public finances. That will really deal with inflation if it's going to be left with 60 billion pounds to fund. I mean, come on, there must be. She's fantasy. She's living in a total cuckoo land, in my view. That she's even planning to do all these tax cuts, unaffordable tax cuts, in my opinion, that will just help inflation even more and more. It'll just make it worse. I mean, 18 billion. Don't mind the 18% inflation that's been forecasted in January by various economists. Don't mind that. Just get all the tax cuts to appease the Tory base. It's not going to help, not at all. It really is not going to help at all. And we've gone for the Daily Star one. But really interesting, they've gone for Christmas headline. Christmas will be ruined by the energy crisis. Yeah, they're not wrong on that one. It's got a photo of this year. I want a pony and a 50 kilowatt off-peak leasey, please, Santa. I kind of agree with that. I think I'm begging for more energy, I think, out of Santa this year. It's September. Stop talking about it. 3 months away. Stop talking about it. I'm not interested in Christmas at the moment. I'm not interested in Christmas at the moment. And the eye goes for Tory fear wrath of voters after Liz Truss coronation, obviously, as well. This one's interesting as well. 80, I think it's 80% of public think the government is failing to tackle energy crisis. And I think also the same figure in there is saying that 60% want the Liz Truss to call an election after she's in, because obviously this election has been decided. This new prime minister has been decided by a leadership contest worth 0.007 of the country at the moment. Middle-aged Tory members, most likely, out there, that one. That is the news this week, that newspaper this week. Also, I should point out as well, Charlie, that the Sunday politics shows are returning tomorrow. And it's a new show as well on BBC One because they have got a new presenter and a new programme. Laura Kuenssberg is taking over the 9 a.m. politics slot tomorrow. She's going to have Liz Truss and Rishi Sunak on her first show, Charlie. It's going to be good, interesting to watch. She's also going to have Nick Thomas-Symonds, Joe Lycett, the comedian, as well. Sophie Ridge on Sunday. I think they have Gordon Brown, Nick Thomas-Symonds as well. Also, just around there, Laura Kuenssberg got the First Lady of Ukraine as well. So, yeah, the Sunday politics shows return tomorrow, 8:30 for Sophie Ridge on Sky, 9 a.m. for the new Laura Kuenssberg show on BBC One. And Adam Bolton and Kate McCann are teaming up for a new show on Times Radio at 10 o'clock as well. They will have various new guests as well on that one. So some new shows tomorrow to look forward for.
And also, do not forget, starting next week, GB News have a new amount of presenting lineups. Patrick Christie's goes to GB News live during Monday to Thursday afternoons. Alex Phillips and Colin Brazier have now officially left the station. Also, as well, I think Stephen Dixon gets his own show. Esther McVeigh and Philip Davis, a Tory MP, loving couple, husband and wife, of course, are doing Friday and Saturdays. To the Point will lose to Patrick Christie's. As well as that, there's also changes with Gloria DePirio and Mark Longhurst also taking new shows. And Calvin's Common Crusade, Calvin Robinson, will air on a Sunday, which would be pretty interesting indeed if you're a Calvin Robinson fan. I want to talk about religion. So
yeah, probably a lot of religious things.
GB News will be launching new rolling news channel network. So time now, guys, for the Great British Stars and Red Devils. Local news as well, guys, was to do with bus fares today. We just running out of time for that now. So here are my Great British Stars and Red Devils of the week. We're going to start with my stars of the week, and of course,
water in.
Let's go for the nominations. My first nomination for the Great British Star goes to the Great British Pub today for their fantastic involvement and for being hospitality in general is being really affected. And I heard on the other day on G News that Adam Brooks said we could lose potentially up to 30% of pubs this winter, or due to the cost of living crisis, the energy crisis being really high. We need hospitality to be supported, and the government must do more, I think, to support hospitality. And also, an honorary nomination goes this week to Bill Turnbull, who sadly passed away earlier this week.
Oh, yeah.
A fantastic and a very inspiring, honestly, a very inspiring news broadcaster. Spent years on BBC Breakfast. Also done, I think, various other shows on the BBC. Yes, you might know my opinions on the BBC, but I respect journalists as much as they do their own jobs. Bill Turnbull unfortunately died from prostate cancer. 1956 to 2022. It was the age of 66 years old, according to Wikipedia. An absolute icon of broadcasting. He was also a presenter on Think Tank as well. He was the game show host of Think Tank. Also presented on Classic FM as well. Also done a few shifts on Good Morning Britain once as well, where we actually came back and spoke about his prostate cancer. So yeah, very interesting, a very fantastic, a very inspiring individual. He'll be sorely missed by everybody, I'm sure. Rest in peace, Bill Turnbull. Red Devils for me this week are going to be very, very controversial nominations. I think the most obvious one is going to be Sadiq Khan because of the horrifying scenes last week at the Notting Hill Carnival, crimes, stabbings, everything. Oh, is this mayor even fit to be in office? Now, my other nomination goes to Lucy Powell this week for wearing a T-shirt. Guys, I want to show you this because this is absolutely, I think, quite crazy here. Lucy Powell wore a T-shirt. She's the Labour. Now, if you know Lucy Powell, she is the Labour Co-op MP for Manchester Central. She was pictured earlier this week wearing a T-shirt. Now, if you wanted to see what this T-shirt was like, it was red, I believe. Yeah.
Labour.
Here we go. She had this T-shirt on called, and I quote this now, "I never kissed a Tory." Oh my! Is this? Look, I understand that the Tory party are not doing that well at the moment, but why spread more virtue signalling by wearing a T-shirt like that in public? I mean, honestly, like, is this some kind of woke brigade that she's part of? Really? Oh my goodness! So she gets my nomination for the Great British, the Red Devil this week. What do you make, Zach, of my nomination?
Have you ever? I don't think you've ever kissed a Tory, Charlie. Can I just ask? I don't think
I don't know. It'd be interesting if I did. Trust me.
I don't think I've ever kissed a Tory either. But
I got close. I'll just say I've met John Whittingdale, but I've never kissed him. So there you
go. No. I don't want to. I don't think I've met Mark Francis. I don't think I've ever wanted to kiss him in my life personally. my opinion. Right, British Stars and Red Devils. So the British Star this week goes to not just a person, but a whole event actually this week. I am giving the British Star to WWE because today they did something quite interesting. They brought WWE, which is normally based in America, to Cardiff in Wales. Yes, seriously, they did an event called Clash at the Castle. I have to say, this is the first time I seriously watched WWE in ages because of this event. And I don't mind watching it, but I just don't get the opportunity to watch it because it's in America. And you know, it's all at 1 o'clock in the morning, and it's not my type of thing to watch at 1 a.m. in the morning, unfortunately. But I watched it because it was 6 p.m. UK time. It was a suitable time for me to watch. And I watched about most of it. And I have to say, I've enjoyed it. There's been certainly, let me give an example of what's happened today. I mean, you've had Roman Reigns, Drew McIntyre, Seth Rollins, Riddle, Edge and Rey Mysterio as well. It's been an event for races, celebrities such as Tyson Fury. Been there, some WWE legends. It's been a great event, and I really have enjoyed watching it, in my view as well. So that gets the British Star this week. Now, the Red Devil today, I have to say, I thought this one, and it came up to me today. This would be the perfect one for Red Devil, unfortunately. I'm going to give it to Corey Wayne Patterson, who is the person today, Charlie, that decided to steal an aeroplane and then threatened to crash it into a Walmart shop.
Oh, I heard about this. This was absolutely horrendous.
Yeah, so his attempt to do a mini 9/11 terrorist attack on a village did not go to plans today. He's been arrested with a grand larceny and making terrorist threats. The Walmart was evacuated whilst police spoke to midair. It's a good job that somebody reported it as stolen, because otherwise it wasn't reported as stolen. Then that sort of incident could have well happened. We could have had an absolute tragedy on our hands as well. The suspect worked at a local airport but was not believed to hold a pilot's license. He's been noted to receive some flight instruction. He allegedly stole the Beechcraft King Air twin-engine aircraft shortly at 5 a.m. local time before taking the skies. He's capable of seating 10-11. The suspect phoned 911 saying he was planning to fly into a branch in Walmart. Well, if you want to ever plan a terrorist attack, don't phone the police. I mean, just first of all, why would you even do that in the first place, steal an aeroplane? And secondly, why were you trying to attempt to do a mini 9/11 by crashing it into a supermarket? I mean, I've got to say, have the Russians took their bombers and just given it to some bloke in America and given the advice to him, which is to crash into Walmart? I mean, what the hell? So, yeah, the British star this week goes to WWE. The Red Devil goes to Corey Wayne Patterson for doing his terrible attempt at a 9/11 in Mississippi.
Yeah, that Red Devil of the week goes to that guy you just mentioned, Corey Wayne Patterson, for doing a pretty evil plot to try and destroy Walmart using an aeroplane.
Useless.
Just the best basically to do is call a terrorist attack. Absolutely ridiculous. Shouldn't be stealing planes and turning them into basically like getaway cars and that. It just isn't. It's absolutely unacceptable. The air police will be out there and they will be immediately taking hold and arresting suspects that do some such stupid crimes. Thank you for watching the Charlie Tolhurst show tonight for the first day of September. Good luck to all those students who will be going back to school next week. I hope you learn some pretty cool things at school as well. Education returns and much more of Britain gets back to a normal week after the summer holidays. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. Take care and goodbye.